to help me.
I can't help you, mister. That's
I
way
want to
out of
talk
my
about the
jurisdiction.
link between
Stopping folks from getting shot off in the
simulation
streets,
theory
you know that.
She's my wife.
and
She's my
video
goddamn
games.
wife. They'll do terrible
I know
things to her. You got
it
to
might
help
sound
me.
kind of silly,
Maybe these people can help.
but I'm just sitting here thinking,
Them?
yeah,
Sure, why not? Most
hear me out.
lost, kidnapped folks are found by bounty hunters and such like.
So I'm watching
I'll pay.
this guy on YouTube
Wonderful.
who
Wonderful.
has a character in this world,
Quite a bit younger than me, you'll see.
this online world,
Better that way.
where he's interacting with AIs.
But they took her. The outlaws,
And
I believe. Up
in
to
this
the right.
world, he has a character on the streets talking to random AIs, letting them know that they are trapped in, that they're not real, that they're in basically a simulation in a video game, etc., etc., and basically just poking and prodding. And their responses are quite interesting. And it makes me think, what would your response be if someone came up to you on the streets and told you you were in a video game? You were not real. Your consciousness, as you know it, is just a form of artificial intelligence that has been, I don't know, programmed, maybe to be slightly different from other AIs. Now, obviously, in making this comparison right here, or telling you to put yourself in these shoes, I'm kind of implying that these two things are the same, that our reality as we see it is similar to these AI characters in this video game, this online, this Unreal Engine 5 point whatever world. But they're not that similar because we are completely different, right? We have free will. I'm actually saying these things right now. I'm actually comparing these things right now. I have my own thoughts. You have your own thoughts that are going through your head right now, right? And they're definitely even different from the thoughts that are going through my head while you're watching this, because at this point I'm probably thinking about something totally different. But at the point you're hearing this, of course. So, no, they're not similar. Correct? They're not similar because that's a video game. They're not matter. They're programmed AIs. They don't have a real consciousness, right? Okay, so you've established that, but let's dig a little deeper into that. If that is the case, and let's just say, for argument's sake, that this is video game simulation that we are living in, that you watching this video are living in. Let's think about that for a minute. That would have to be, obviously, the most advanced video game ever. Well, how long do you think it would take to develop something like this to where you could develop a whole universe? Obviously, a lot of people think about it could be fairly easy if we were living in the Matrix, right? I know that sounds kind of silly, but if you think about it along those lines, it's a little different. So, but is it really that different? Because where would that start if this was a simulation? If our reality as we know it was a simulation, where would the creators start? What would it look like? One might argue that it might look a lot like what we see today. I remember in the 90s playing SimCity. In the 1990s playing SimCity and building these cities up, and you're like an absent god per se, in these situations. You're just building a city, watching it live or die, depending upon the decisions you make. And I've watched this progress to the point we are now, where if you're playing No Man's Sky, there you cannot. I think it's some crazy stat like you cannot. It's either visit every system in that game. If you played that game every minute of your life, that you could not reach every solar system in that game. I might be wrong, but I think that's the stat for sure. I'm not for sure, but I think that is the stat. So, and this is over the period of 30 years, right? We went from SimCity to this. Now we're talking to AIs, and we're going to be implementing these AIs in the games to make them more interesting and more lifelike. And who's to say that we are not just in a super advanced type of simulation like this? This may be where this type of reality started, if we're holding to this theory of simulation, if we're doing this, if we're going down this path. This is a thought experiment. If we're going down this path, I'm not saying this is what I believe in. I'm not saying it's not what I believe in. But what I'm saying is for a thought experiment, if we're going down this path, we have to look at that. It is bringing so many things to light. I mean, you play Red Dead 2 online. You're a random character that you create in this world, and you're doing the most human things, feeding your horse, feeding yourself.
Just help us escape from here.
I mean,
Please.
I'm not going
foraging, hunting,
You swore I wouldn't have to go back.
weather affects you. I mean, it just goes on and on and on, and these games get more real, more real, and more real. At what point do we cross that threshold where
I can't do it.
AIs start to seem like actual consciousness, and are able to do the things that I'm doing right now, and that are able to do the things that you are doing right now? At what point does the simulation get to this point?
We'll have sent men to watch you people. They'll know you're trying to
This
help
point that we're at, if this is a simulation? Because we can't tell the difference. You can hold your hand up in front of you right now. Wiggle your fingers. You can see past it. Can't see through it. But we do know that on a molecular level, there's really no mass there. If we break it down, there's no mass. It's almost like energy wavelengths.
They knew what they were getting into taking on, no doubt.
So when you think about it like that, if you want to think about it like that, and it's a very interesting theory to think about, and it's very fun to think about, and I do enjoy it, and I enjoy the loops of the loops it sends your mind in, and how it really makes you work. So it's a very interesting theory. I hope you guys don't take these thought experiments for granted. It's good for you. You know, it's good to think. And in some cases, it's good to, I don't know, I guess you would say latch on to some of these things, but at the same time, you can only latch on so much. So this is just something I wanted to talk about, and it's like I said, it's not necessarily what I believe, but it's just the conversation of simulation theory has been hot and heavy ever since the movie The Matrix was made. That has been the real tipping point. Scientists started looking into simulation theory at that point. Yes, I do know that there have been people before the movie The Matrix to delve into this, but it has really kind of taken off since then. And mainstream scientists, not just fringe scientists, are really representing this case well and putting forth some bold and theories that actually make sense, as this one kind of does in a way, if you look at it in the aspect as we are living in a simulation. And could this process that we're seeing now with video games, and how far they're taking us and where they're taking us to, and how we're able to create these other worlds, these other universes, and actually go live in them. It's interesting, and it's, I would think, would be the beginning of simulation theory. So we are in the beginning process. If this is not the source simulation or source universe, then that's another complex issue to think about, because what are the chances that if this is a simulation, that we are in the source universe? And if we're not in the source universe, this is just this repeating cycle of what's happening in each of these manufactured simulations is they're creating their own simulations at some point. And then, therefore, those simulations are going to create their own simulations, and so on in a never-ending stream of virtual universes that are created through means of simulation and reproduction for the purpose of enjoyment and consumption for each of the races that are in each of these simulation theories that seemingly keep going on like two mirrors facing each other, and you're just looking in them, and they're reflections of each other that just go on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And with that, I'll see y'all later.
Leave us alone. How many more of them we gotta kill?
He'll never leave us alone. He'll keep saying you kidnapped me until some other fool comes and kills you. Or me, or both of us.
No. We'll run. Somewhere hot. Mexico. Australia. Here. Take this. Thank you for being a decent human being. Tell him we drowned. Or got hit by a train.
Tell him to go hang himself. Tell him whatever you want. Just let us go. Cliff, isn't it all so romantic?
Yeah.